parents of high school age children, you know that your children are in 8 classes, but the sizes of those classes have been severely impacted. We are running classes at the high school in all areas exceeding 25 students 30% of the time. Teachers with 140, 152 students in a class in their student load is certainly going to have a severe impact on the teacher's ability to deliver a quality educational program for students. And the elective areas are in core areas. They're in social studies, they're in science, they're in math, they're in the business education department. So the impact is not one of a lessening of exposure to art or music or phys ed, although the junior and senior students may not have the phys ed elective. The impact is felt differently in core elective areas where those classes have ballooned from what may have been a nice size of 22 or 23 to 27, 28, or 29 students in a class.
Could I just add something to that, please, for a moment? We had the back-to-school night for the high school the other day, and I was struck by something one of the teachers told me. She teaches elective classes, and this year she doesn't have a classroom full of people who want to be there. She has a classroom mixed of people who are stuck there along with the ones who wanted to be there. And she is not able to do anywhere near as much in that class as she has been accustomed to doing.
Just out of, it looks like Mr. Hodges is going to do a little presentation, but just out of curiosity, how many folks here tonight have a son or daughter in the high school? Okay, thank you.
Oh, come on, middle school. Come on, keep going. Seriously,
Middle school.
Middle school.
Elementary. Good. Mr. Hodges.
If you have read John Steinbeck's The Pearl, you'll remember the scenes that were set aside were very often done through musical scores, the Song of the Pearl, etc., etc. I was thinking about The Way We Were, that wonderful movie and the songs, because this is exactly the way we were. The cores, our 4 general arts, and by the way, some of you may not realize, our general arts, each of our students were able to have each of these courses for a quarter. So there was a rather regular rotation. In addition, phys ed, foreign language in the 7th grade and 8th, and reading comprehension in the 6th. So this was kind of, and this is exactly what we projected with a 3-year self-assessment study that we did a few years ago. So the way we were. Then there's this year, and I thought of Roberta Flax, Killing Me Softly, playing in the background. And our core subjects are definitely intact. There's no question about that. Grade 6, no international cultures. And just something about international cultures, that was a course that was probably the most popular course in the school. It was a course that introduced foreign language. It was a course that introduced culture. I'm getting to that, which is my favorite part. The cooking, because at the end of a cultural unit, they would embrace a culinary delight from that culture. And in 8th grade, we would have literally cook-offs, Iron Chef's cook-offs, where groups of kids would put together. It was a wonderful, wonderful program. It's gone. And since there's no international cultures, guess what? And we have about 87 kids all together that end up in A block. They go to a study. No art. Well, and I'll talk about that in a second because you'll see what happened with the sharing. So grade 6 has no art. Well, keep in mind there are 4 rotations. We've just eliminated 2. So sometime this school year, your youngster is going to sit A block, if you're a 6th grader, A block and B block and get a double study. That's the reality of what's happened. It's absolutely tragic. Might be good for getting some homework done and making life a little simpler at home, but it's really not the kind of quality education we're trying to promote. Grade 7, no international cultures. They could rotate 3 this year, missing 1. Grade 8, no international cultures and no music. So what happened with all this? Well, with the budget cuts, we were forced to share. We cut music, a full teacher, and because we cut a teacher, we now borrow 2 teachers, one from the high school and one from the Hood School. We cut PE, and we lent that person to the high school. Now I have 1 PE teacher who is now in charge of 648 students here. And by the way, that's a male who is still here. The female went to the high school. So who's checking the girls' locker room? I have 2 general paras who rotate. They go in the first 10 minutes of the block, all 7 blocks a day. They're in there the first 10 minutes, and they are there the last 10 minutes. Not exactly quality education. We lent an art teacher to the high school, and in the process, we left 233 6th graders that received no art this year. And we also lent the art teacher to the batch. Now, what's interesting is on Wednesdays, we have no general arts because no one is here. They're shared and gone someplace else. So the only thing that would have been left, if we had a full day, there's 3 blocks left, 3 studies apiece. That's just unconscionable. You just cannot do that. So that half day that we have, that reduction of 2 hours, actually saves the kids. Imagine coming in here and being on a day where you have 2 studies and then you finish up with 3 at the end of the day. It's just bizarre. Just bizarre. No band or chorus. By the time we get to the old band and the chorus, I'm thinking of the song, "The Old Gray Mare Ain't What She Used to Be." And no concerts, no assemblies. I made a decision this year. This is not the Dick Hodges show when it comes to assemblies. We have always had our band play. We have always had our chorus sing. We have always had our kids read their essays. We have always had the kids participate in that whole assembly. Same thing for our holiday assembly here this year. The faculty did not do our traditional 12 days of Christmas. We usually sing that out with the kids. We did not have any band or chorus holiday expressions. It was gone. The high school was very gracious, sent their kids up. Our kids had none of that at all. The other problem for us, and this is kind of a scheduling issue, we have to freeze our schedule. If you look at A, B, C, D, E, F, maybe that doesn't sound like a big deal, but for a middle school kid and for staff as well, it's nice to come in A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then the next day start with B, C, D, E, F, and change up as the week goes on, so that your son and daughter's favorite class or less favorite class is not at the same time every day. There's a flow to it. That flow has stopped here because of this. We have to freeze. All of this, what's left, we've got study halls all over the place.
Dick, I thought you were going to sing some of those songs. And,
I'll
I'll add another one, Bridge Over Troubled Water, maybe.
Bridge over.
You can always count on Mr. Hodges to really put things into perspective. You never quite know what he's going to do, which is a scary thing. So I won't ask him another question.
There's no way to teach to treat a retiree.
That's right.
But I would like to focus on the high school in terms of the class size. So, John, I wonder if you could talk a little more. I know you mentioned something about class size, but I'm also concerned about this 18% loss of students from the 8th grade class. And I wonder if you could maybe share your thoughts. I know you did some feedback from parents and students on this, but 18% from the 8th grade class this past year did not go to North Reading High School. And of course, we never have 0%, but this is clearly the highest loss of students in the 14 years that I've been superintendent and the previous superintendent keeping records, we've never been that high. So, Mr. Brown, I don't know if you have any thoughts on
I
that.
sure do. I think what's important to note, too, is that in the prior summer, we had a 6% loss from the entering 9th grade class. So to go from a 6% loss of students in the 8th grade entering the high school in grade 9 to 18% is cause for concern. And last summer, as I started to evaluate the students that were not going to be coming to the high school, I decided to do a survey, and I mailed home a survey to all of the families of the students that we were able to identify who were not coming to North Reading High School. And while there were a variety of reasons, I can tell you that not just in 1 or 2 cases, there were direct comments to the failed override that took place in the spring of 2007, that we were lacking in the amount of elective courses, the breadth of elective courses that we were able to offer to students, and I'll talk about the impact there in just a moment, and that parents saw a weakening of our academic program. And I think that that is a direct result of the inflated class sizes that should not be existing at the high school. It's unreasonable to think that a teacher of high school English, for example, can work with 142 students, and one of those classes be 28 advanced placement students. For anyone who knows anything about advanced placement courses, you know that there is a great deal of rigor to that course. It's essentially a college-level course. So to expect a teacher to be able to challenge students and to be able to assign the level of writing and reading, and then be able to assess students on their performance at a college-level course and an advanced placement course as only one of the 5 classes that teacher teaches, and this is an example, is unreasonable. The teacher cannot adequately challenge students, cannot meet the individual needs of students when their caseload is 142 students. Now, is that the case for every teacher at the high school? Certainly it's not. I will tell you, too, it's not the most extreme. I think the most extreme case I have is an art teacher with 152 students. But I do have teachers with caseloads, student caseloads, far exceeding 100. And the current trend in the advanced placement courses is to encourage students in their junior and senior years to enroll in advanced placement courses, to take those rigorous courses, to prepare them for meeting the challenges that they're going to have in their education when they enter college. So when you promote that, as it's prescribed by the College Board, which oversees the advanced placement program, when you promote that as a high school, you naturally intrigue more students to enroll in advanced placement courses. But what you run the risk of is inflating those courses to numbers of 20, 22, 24, as high as 28 students in an advanced placement course. But the advanced placement course is not something that impacts every family. It certainly is not something that impacts every student. We'll take a schedule for a student that's in academic level classes or honors level classes or a combination. Again, I want to cite the statistic. We have 30% of our classes right now on a daily basis that are running with 26 or more students in them, as high as 32. And that's one class that a teacher is teaching out of their 5. So it's simple math. The single most contributing factor to what I see as a stagnation of results of student performance on the advanced placement test, on the SAT, not so much at the MCAS, although I'm fearful that where we have 9th and 10th grade English and math classes that are in the mid to high 20s, that we're going to see the impact there soon, if not this year, that the stagnation in those advanced placement test scores and those SAT scores is directly related to extremely large class sizes and that inhibit teachers from being able to deliver the kind of quality instruction that they need to when they have a student caseload of, say, something more reasonable of like 100 students, which would be on average 20 students in a class. We're far above that, and I think we have felt the impact of that, and I'm fearful that we're going to continue to feel the impact of that if we do not get some relief in the way of additional teachers to lessen those class sizes.
Good, thank you, John. Chris, I know that you're faced with or the district is faced with a compliance audit in special education this coming spring. Can you talk a little bit about how that audit, why that audit is important, and what happens when you're out of compliance, and also in terms of ELL, or English language learners? I suspect many people don't quite understand that